Vietnam's 25,000 rate. What most investors miss. What if everything you believe about currency investing is completely wrong? What if a weak currency is not actually a weakness, but a carefully designed economic weapon? And what if two countries, Vietnam and Iraq, told the same war story, but built completely different financial futures from it? Most investors looking at the Vietnamese Dong and Iraqi Dinar are focused on one thing only, the exchange rate. But here's the truth nobody is talking about. A currency does not move just because people believe it will. It moves because governments allow it to move or prevent it from moving. And today, we are exposing one of the biggest misunderstandings in the currency investment world. Why does Vietnam keep its currency so low even while its economy is exploding? And why does Iraq still struggle with banking reforms even after decades of rebuilding? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will completely change how you see both Vietnam and Iraq forever. Two countries, one history, two futures. Let's go back in time. Both Vietnam and Iraq share a similar historical background, years of devastating conflict involving global powers, including the United States. But after the wars ended, something interesting happened. Vietnam chose one path, and Iraq chose another. Vietnam shifted its entire focus toward manufacturing, exports, and attracting foreign companies. Instead of trying to strengthen its currency, Vietnam did the opposite. It kept the Vietnamese Dong intentionally weak. Why? Because a weaker currency makes Vietnamese goods cheaper on the global market. That means more exports, more factories, more foreign investment, more jobs. Now compare that to Iraq. Iraq focused heavily on rebuilding institutions, banking systems, and financial reforms through the central bank. But unlike Vietnam, Iraq's financial system is still in transition. Banking modernization is ongoing. International integration is still developing. And financial infrastructure is still being rebuilt. Two countries, two strategies, two completely different economic identities. Why Vietnam keeps its currency weak? Here's where most investors get confused. They see Vietnam's strong economic growth and assume the currency should rise. But Vietnam doesn't operate like that. Vietnam's entire economic engine is built on exports. From electronics to textiles to manufacturing, Vietnam competes with countries like China, India, and Thailand. And in global trade, currency strength matters. A strong currency equals expensive exports equals lower demand. A weak currency, cheaper exports, higher demand. So Vietnam strategically maintains a controlled, weaker currency to stay competitive. And it works. Vietnam has welcomed over 21 million international visitors, generating approximately $38.4 billion in tourism revenue, adding even more fuel to its economy. But here's the key point. Vietnam is not trying to create a strong currency image. It is trying to build a strong export machine. And that is why the Vietnamese Dong stays low, even while the economy rises. Iraq, banking reforms, and the long game. Now let's talk about Iraq. Unlike Vietnam, Iraq's story is not export-driven. It is reform-driven. At the center of everything is the Central Bank of Iraq. The goal? To stabilize the financial system, to modernize banking operations, to connect Iraq with global financial networks. But here is what many investors miss. Banking reform is not fast. It takes years, sometimes decades. Infrastructure must be rebuilt. International trust must be established. Compliance systems must be upgraded. And financial transparency must be strengthened. Iraq is moving in that direction, but it is still a work in progress. That is why the Iraqi dinar behaves differently from currencies like the Vietnamese Dong. One is optimized for global trade. The other is still building its financial foundation. And this difference is critical for anyone trying to understand long-term currency potential. The big picture, most investors never see. Now let's bring everything together. Vietnam and Iraq are not competing stories. They are two different economic models. Vietnam shows us what happens when a country uses a weak currency as a strategic tool for export dominance. Iraq shows us what happens when a country focuses on rebuilding financial systems and banking infrastructure before full global integration. And here is the most important truth. Currency value is not just about demand. It is about government policy, economic strategy, and long-term national planning. So when investors look at exchange rates alone, they miss the bigger picture completely. The real question is not, will this currency rise tomorrow? The real question is, what is the country building behind the currency? Vietnam is building an export empire. Iraq is building a financial system transformation. Both paths take time. Both paths have risks. And both paths require patience, not speculation. If you understand this, you are already ahead of 90% of investors watching this space.